Friends, I want to share a brief scripture insight with you about this week's upcoming block. But before I do, one note about our high school seniors. You just got an email today with a QR code and a link to a survey that you're asked to give the seniors in your class that has them share their post-high school plans for college or work or where they'll be living. This data will only be shared with seminary and institute employees, and we will use it just to reach out to those students and help them to get connected to either a YSA community or an institute program wherever they land. One of our responsibilities as seminary and institute teachers is to help our high school seniors graduate into institute. So many of our youth have a wonderful experience in seminary, they graduate high school, and then they never continue their religious education experience. And a lot of times that correlates with them struggling to remain active in the church, prepare and then serve a mission, participate in temple worship, or otherwise stay connected to church membership and activity. Institute is as strong a predictor of lifelong discipleship as any of those other things. And so we want to make sure that our high school seniors continue their religious education experience into institute. So helping them take this survey will give us the information we have to make sure they don't get lost. In addition to that, watch the upcoming weeks. There'll be some announcements about a mini institute class for seminary seniors, a social for seminary seniors coming up in May, a worldwide broadcast for young adults to which high school seniors are invited. All of those things are coming up, and I just want to make sure that you're aware of them. Now, this upcoming week, one of my favorite stories, and it's fitting because it's right on the heels of General Conference, is the story of Moses fighting the Israelites fighting the Amalekites. And if you remember the story, or if you've read it in preparation for teaching it, the Lord tells Moses that if he'll go out and sit on this mount and hold up the rod of God in his hands, that Israel will prevail. But if the rod starts to fall, then Israel will start to lose. And so Moses goes up and he holds this rod up all day and all night, and Israel prevails, but then his arms start to get tired. Now, to help illustrate this, a lot of times when I've taught this, I've asked students to actually play the part of Moses, Aaron, and Hur. So I'll invite Moses up and I'll have them hold out their hands, and I'll put things on their hands, hymn books or textbooks or something, and I'll ask students as we load up Moses's hands, what are some of the things that a modern day Moses, a modern day prophet might be thinking about, might be worrying about? If you think this Moses represents President Oaks or your bishop or your stake president or your young women's president, what are some of the things that they care about, that they're worried about? And it's a wonderful discussion as they put books on hands to have someone illustrating Moses hold up their hands and have these books. And then you get to have this fun discussion with the person playing Moses. What does it feel like to hold up this responsibility? What do you start to feel? And a lot of times they'll talk about how tired they feel. You can ask them some questions about what it feels like to carry that kind of responsibility. And then you read with them, of course, these passages from Exodus chapter 17. Verse 12, "But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, the one on the one side and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun." And so I'll invite up an Aaron and a Hur, and I'll be clear to them, you can't hold the staff. You can't hold the books. That's for this leader to hold up. But you can hold up their hands. And so I'm going to make my screen big here so you can see it. I'll have them, here's Moses holding up the books like this, and I'll have an Aaron and a Hur come down, and they'll just use their hands underneath Moses' elbows to kind of hold up those elbows. And then Moses will breathe a sigh of relief, and you can talk about what does it feel like to have support, to have help. And then I'll do this one adjustment. I'll take Moses away, and I'll have whoever's on the right side or on Moses' left side stand there, and I'll say, now, hold your hand just like it is, just like you were sustaining Moses. Hold your hand there. And now ask yourself, does this look at all familiar to you? When was the last time you did this, where you raised your hand and said, not that you were voting for someone, not that you thought they would be a good leader, but you were asked to sustain them? What does it mean to sustain? And then you can have a discussion about what it means to sustain a leader. We're not voting for President Oaks as the president of the church. We're volunteering our sustaining. we're telling the Lord that I will follow, I will support, I will do everything I can to hold up the hands and care for the things that the prophet or the young women's president cares for. That's how we sustain each other. And so as you have that discussion with your students and have those questions, I just hope that that spirit can come into that discussion and they can feel the power that comes when the Lord calls leaders to direct us. And as long as those leaders hold up the rod of God, we will prevail. But then he also calls us to sustain them so that we and they can enjoy the Lord's protection. Thank you for everything that you do. I hope that you have a wonderful week.